Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Metal Magdalene with Jet right here on Metal Messiah Radio. Today we have a special guest back on the show with us. We have Johan Fridell back on the show with his new band, Riket. Welcome back to the show, Johan.
Thank you kindly. It's good to be back, Jet.
Now, did I pronounce the name of the band right?
Well, it's hard. It's in Swedish. It's called Riket. But Riket it's close enough. The kingdom, it would be in English. But since we do everything in Swedish, we also choose to have like a Swedish name.
Okay, then I won't be pronouncing the name of the band much throughout this. I'll let you do it. Okay, so Johan, most of us, of course, know you from Netherbird. So why start a whole new band instead of just continuing on in Netherbird, but just playing a more of an old school death metal vibe?
Well, Netherbird is a completely different beast, and Netherbird might very well resurface in some form or shape. So it's resting in the shadows currently, and basically why I wanted to do death metal. Netherbird is something else. I mean, we're drifting more towards maybe black, post-black, heavy metal, something like that. Very little death influences these days, but I am an old death metal head myself, and my first band was actually a death metal band in the early 90s. So when the current lead guitarist of Netherbird, Tobias, showed me a few riffs that he has made, or actually sort of basic song structures, I said, oh, what the fuck, let's record it. And so we just did it in order to be a bit creative while Netherbird is currently a bit slow. So simple as that, actually. And we sort of liked what we heard, and it's like, yeah, fuck, let's do this.
Well, I was going to say, too, it seemed like you, started this band up, put out demos all rather quickly, so you kind of, well, you just told us you had these structures written, but did you have anything else written, or did you do this all together once you're like, okay, we're going to do this band now?
Yeah. Well, actually, he presented the ideas. I'm sitting looking at him currently. He's not in this conversation, but I think it was maybe in late February, March. He showed me those sketches, and he finalized the song structures. I wrote the lyrics, and we recorded everything basically in a very short span of time. And when we were done, sort of on demo level, I contacted Adrian. He used to be the drummer in Netherbird, but of course also in lots of other bands. And I knew he would love it because he is an old school guy. And I was sitting in Studio Fredman with him many years back, and we were just, discussing which two-stroke death metal bands are the best. So I thought he'd sort of like it. And he was thrilled. He recorded the drums in half a day. So all in all, I think we got it made in less than 2 months from when we decided to do it until we released it on Scarecrow Recordings.
And I was going to say, too, with Adrian in the band, it does kind of add a nice dynamic to the band. Now, he wrote a lot of the music, too, right?
He was part of the arrangement, and he wrote all the drum stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's his drumming style, and so he has had a lot of influence actually on the end result.
And it's nice too, like you said, that he was in Netherbird back in the day, so you're all familiar anyways with each other's playing. So I just, when I saw the actual lineup of the band and listened to the music, Adrian does add a nice dynamic with his style to the band, and it's just nice, like we're going for old school sounding Swedish death metal. It's great. Now, do you own Scarecrow Recordings? What's all going on with that?
Well, I'm part of it. Mm-hmm. It's a really small indie label that we used sometimes to push out Netherbird or other collaborations that we have. But we are actually licensing it out through Sound Pollution, so it's internationally distributed, but we own it, so it's sort of like our publishing house for the music. And it gives us a lot of freedom, because we can release whatever we want, and we don't have to hassle or haggle with anyone. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, since we work with Sound Pollution and Sony Publishing, we also sort of have it. We have a global distribution for it. So it's actually kind of best of two worlds, I would say.
It is, and tell us a little bit about how you approached this album recording-wise. I know a lot of the bands who are writing in the vein of old-school death metal record without a lot of technological crutches and enhancements. How did you guys approach this album as far as recording went?
It's very simple, actually. I mean, it's actually, most of it is recorded after metronome, so that would be something I wouldn't have done in 92, but other than that, it's the same thing. I mean, there are like the 2 channels for vocals, there are like 4 channels of guitar, there's 2 channels of bass, and there's a few channels of drums. The drums were recorded in London, the rest here in Stockholm, and it means it's extremely quick. It's more like how we used to record demos back in the day, and as long as you really know the songs, it's a pretty playful way to do it, and very different from how we usually record stuff these days. So it was sort of, it was fun and very spontaneous.
And it sounds good. I mean, for a death metal band, definitely not too overproduced. You know, some of them just get a little too crazy with all the...
They're too skilled, that's the thing. I mean, we don't try to impress anyone with this. We want it to groove more.
And it does, and it's fun, and it's great to listen to. Now, why did you decide to write it all in Swedish?
Well, it's my native language, which you might hear from my sort of thick accent in English, but... I've been writing lyrics for 25 years for various extreme metal acts, Netherbird in particular, and as sort of, I found my style there, and it's pretty personal, and I think I could identify it pretty simple if I would to do it in Riket. You would see so many similarities, and for me it's more rewarding to try something else. It just gives a fresh take on things.
So because it is in Swedish, and I don't know what the hell any of it is, what is the EP basically about lyrically?
Well, it's about death and destruction. The usual suspects these days. Now I tend to write sort of reflections on stuff. So basically, I always set a title for a song, and then I try to explain the title to myself. And like the first song is called "Dovt is dödens dawn," which is muffled is the sound of death. Mm-hmm. And it basically explains a panzer assault at night. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of, but also that everything tends to become poetry from a distance. That's how we create heroes and losers and so forth. It's just carnage where it happens. But, you know, depending on the perspective, you might see it as, you know, heroic or whatever. So, but it's not... It's absolutely not political. It's sort of more existentialistic and sort of despairful, I would say.
It's well, okay. Well, now at least I know what it's about. I still don't understand any of it, but it doesn't really matter.
So I can tell you whatever, right?
Now, do you sing lead on all the tracks?
Actually, I had a good friend, Nine is his moniker, and he is the singer of Wormwood, a new up-and-coming Swedish black and roll band. Mm-hmm. Really, really good band. He's also the lead singer of Withershin, which is a black metal band that's been around for a while. He's also very happy about doing stuff in Swedish, so and he's a close friend, and we've been collaborating live previously. So we asked him over. So one of the tunes, which is called Avart and Vanart, he actually sings the first verse and the first chorus, and then I do exactly the same in the second verse and second chorus. So we sort of do the song twice.
And what track is that on the EP?
That will be track number 2.
Okay, because even on track number 3, I was like, is that Johan singing in that? You know, I had to pay attention a little bit. But I really like it. I like the different, you know, and it's not too crazy. It's a great album, you know, even produced, you know, simple, like kind of back in the day, but it's still nice and audible and not muddy and anything like that. And I did sense a little bit of a black metal flair at the beginning of track 4, but only for a very short. I'm like, they can't control themselves.
No. Well, you know, whatever comes out, right? There's some little bit of thrash and maybe even some crust in it, I think. And
it's great. Mm-hmm.
And my vocals, I don't have a set style. I mean, I wanted to growl more on this. Normally we do more mid-range stuff with Netherbird. So and growl is the simplest thing for me. That's sort of I can do that forever. So it was nice to be back to that. But yeah, I mean, I throw whatever in that comes to mind, and that's what happens when you do it spontaneously. And I mean, if I would work harder on this, something else might have been the end result, I guess.
Well, it's fun to listen to. I mean, for an EP, it doesn't all sound like, it all sounds like the same song over and over. New band, but you kind of get stuck in this, like, it's not. I mean, every track is like, that sounds like this. And then, like you said, it's got its little thrashy things in there and whatever, so it's kind of cool. Now, are you guys also in the process of writing a full length? I think that's usually what happens after the EP.
No, actually, we already have the songs for the next EP. We think EPs is or this actually, when I tried to sort of convince Spotify that this was an EP, I was declined because it's not 15 minutes. So it's a single technically, but it's a 4-tune single. I think we'll record it like that because we don't really. For us, Riket is a sort of a creative outlet, and we might do some live shows if we can find really tacky places and a really bad time slot. Then we can do it. We can do like festivals Tuesday at 1400. That'll be optimal. Because we really want to do this underground. We really want to make it something very apart from Netherbird, where we of course work much harder in order to build the band into something big. Riket is anything but that. It's playful. It's
it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. So I guess we'll have at least one more EP out before the end of the year, but you never know. One guy is now also in the process of releasing it. The first single or EP will be available as a 7-inch vinyl in very limited, and that's perfect for us.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's nice. And where can people pick up copies of this EP?
Ooh, that I don't know yet, actually. And I don't know when it's done either. I think it will ship somewhere in late summer, but the digital version will be available on 31st of May. And one can go to Riket, which is riket.org. It's one of the foulest organizations on the .org domain. So you can also find us on Facebook and on Bandcamp. But the stuff will be on Spotify and whatever 31st of May.
So most of the people in the world, they all have Facebook, so they could get all the links from there, and then they could go check out like your website, like you were talking about, and all that kind of stuff. And with the review link out now and a pre-release track of track number 1, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. What have some of the early reactions been to the band?
Well, it's been actually, we get a lot of high grades, and that is fun because people seem to realize that this is something very different. This is not a new sort of a Netherbird effort. This is something completely different. And it seems like people like it, but then again, it's only like 11, 12 minutes long. It's hard to bore people in such a short span. So I guess people sort of at least it was short, so that's good.
Well, maybe you're onto something with this EP thing then you won't have to...
That's how we did it with Netherbird in the beginning, but then in the end you realize that nobody takes you seriously if you don't release full-length albums, so we started to do that, but it takes away some of the playfulness, and doing a full-length album it's hard work, really hard.
And it's like you said too, Johan, it's spontaneous. You like you said, you wrote it all, recorded. It's only a couple of months. It's already out. Within a year, I couldn't even come up. By the time I'm catching up with all the emails, it's already out. I was like, holy shit, how the hell did that happen so fast? It's because you don't have all those other people involved. That's how.
No, exactly. We don't have a record label messing things up. We have a distributor we worked with for years, and they're just happy. They were really, ecstatic that we released something, something a bit unusual, more, like in the old days. I still have some tapes left from 92 and 93 if somebody wants to buy it. But those stuff, we recorded it more or less the same way, and it's a fresh, different take. Not one I would do forever, but now and then it's really nice.
It is really nice, and it's like you said, it's got that underground approach to it, at least. You know, sometimes with all the social media and stuff out there, it just gets so out there that even if you try to have that underground approach anymore, all of a sudden, you know, they're reviewing you or whatever as not so much an underground band.
Yeah.
But what it's playful, it's spontaneous, like you said. It's great music. I mean, if people are checking out the EP thinking, oh, there's another old school death metal band, it's really not, because you do have so many different little elements, and they don't, it's basic death metal, but you got, like you were talking about, you got that thrashy stuff, you got a little crusty elements, you got a little black metal elements. It doesn't take over the whole music, but they're in there, and it just kind of mixes it up a little. That, with it all being in Swedish, it's just different, and that's refreshing, whether it's underground or not.
Yeah, I'm glad you think so. And I mean, if you want to listen to old school, really awesome, new but old school, I mean, Entrails or Demonical are wonderful Swedish acts. I mean, those there is no reason for us to try to do another thing like them. I mean, we listen to them. We don't need to record more stuff like that.
Right.
So, I mean, we think they are awesome already. So we did something a little bit different. But then again, next EP might be different because, you know, it's spontaneous. So whatever happens, happens.
Oh boy, I'm a little scared now.
Yeah.
So this comes out officially on May 31st on Scarecrow Recordings, and I guess people could just go to your Facebook page. If they go to that Facebook page, then they can find all the links to where to order it and what's going on with you guys. And Johan, thank you so much for coming back on the show, telling us about your band, and definitely when the next EP comes out, we have to come back on, because I'm sure it'll be a whole different ballgame.
It might be. And thank you so much for having me back. It's awesome, and I encourage everybody to listen. And if you hate it, please just, you know, there's a million other bands, but this might be something for a few of you. If you like simplistic, brutal, maybe not the most overthought or overproduced thing, then might be something for you.